Pay down debt with the debt snowball as introduced by Dave Ramsey. My thoughts and opinions on this strategy, and is there a better way? Let's get into it and discuss all the details. All right, now you've probably heard of Dave Ramsey. He's been around for a very long time now, helping millions and millions of people turn around their financial situations and ultimately getting out of debt. As I've described in a previous video, I've been following Dave Ramsey for a number of years now, and I've applied some of his concepts to my own personal life. So in this video, I do want to talk about the debt snowball and whether this strategy actually works or if there is a better way. So let's get into it and talk about what does he mean by the debt snowball. So basically what Dave Ramsey says about the debt snowball is exactly this. Take all of your consumer debts, in other words, credit cards, auto loans, personal loans, lines of credit, and any other types of outstanding consumer debts that you may have, gather all those together, and then lay them out from smallest to biggest when it comes down to the balances. Let me quickly give you an example. Let's just say that you have 5 different balances. One is $500, another one is $1,000, another one is $5,000, another one is $8,000, and another one is $10,000. You would lay them out in that order, right? Smallest to biggest balances. Now, by the way, this does not include a mortgage. A mortgage is kind of on like its own little separate level because generally mortgages are very, very high balances, hundreds of thousands of dollars or maybe even tens of thousands of dollars. So therefore, leave the mortgage out on this one, but rather just let's categorize all of your consumer debts. Now what he basically says to do going forward is take all of these balances, pay the minimum on all of the balances except for the smallest one, and then take all of your excess income and attack that smallest balance with a vengeance, is basically what he says on this. So in this example that I just gave you a second ago, the smallest balance that I said was $500. So basically what he's saying, take all of your extra income after paying the minimum balances on all of these other balances out there to satisfy the minimums, and then just attack that small one until it's gone, right? So it's a pretty good strategy. I mean, let's be real here. It's very logically a good strategy, right? Because here's the thing. As you start to knock down some of these debts, right? You knock off the $500. Now you can take all of your excess income, any extra money that's out there available to you, and start going after the next one. Once the number one is gone, then start attacking number two, right? Same strategy. Pay the minimums on the other balances, and then attack on the smallest balance that you have until it's gone, until it's evaporated, until it has been eliminated, and then again, go at it on the next balance that is available. So it's a pretty good strategy. And that's what the snowball is, exactly what he's talking about. Basically, the snowball starts at the top of the mountain, very, very small, and as it starts to move its way down, it gets bigger and bigger, it gets more momentum, and it starts chewing through snow much, much faster. In this case, since we're talking about debt and balances, of course, it starts chewing through these balances much more quickly as well, because then you have more of your income that you can start taking to attack these other balances. Now, here's the thing. When it comes down to it, the debt snowball strategy is actually a very good strategy. I totally agree. If somebody wants to get out of debt and they do have consumer loans and consumer debt, credit card debt, auto loans, things like this is how I would also approach it. I do think this is a very effective strategy because here's the thing. When you start paying down one debt at a time and you start attacking these and starting to get them off of your balance sheet, and you start to see that, hey, I've just knocked off 3 of my debts, you start to get excited. You start to get momentum just like the snowball rolling down the mountain, right? You get a lot of momentum as you start to move forward and you start knocking these things off one at a time. But here's the problem. Now, when it comes down to it, many people, and again, I'm not suggesting that you do this. I'm just simply saying the vast majority of people out there do this, and this is why it is so hard to get out of debt for so many people. Number one, a lot of people look across all of their consumer loans, all of their consumer balances, and say, I'm going to pay the one that has the highest interest rate. Logically, mathematically, it probably makes a lot of sense, right? Saying, I'm going to go after the one that has a 7% interest rate versus the one that has a 1.5% interest rate. Again, probably makes a lot of sense. However, that is one thing that could work for some people, but generally that strategy doesn't always work all that well. But rather, attacking the ones with the smallest balance first and then working your way up the food chain up until the biggest balances, you can usually get this done. According to Dave Ramsey and his research and the statistics that he's run on this, generally most people can get fully out of debt by using this strategy between 18 and 24 months. That's pretty fast. I mean, for the vast majority of people, that is pretty quick, right? And again, there's a lot of factors about this. It depends on how much you have as income, what is your disposable income, in other words, how much extra money do you have that you can devote toward paying down these debts, how much do you have in debts? There's a lot of different factors here, and of course, everybody's situation is completely different. So that is something that Dave Ramsey has talked about. Generally, most people can get out of these debts within 18 to 24 months, which again is pretty exciting to think about, right? All right, so that's reason number one, which is why a lot of people struggle to get out of debts is simply because a lot of people go after the highest interest rate balances. So again, I'm not really telling you what to do here. I'm not really suggesting because I don't know your situation. But again, that is one thing that kind of holds some people back. And again, you got to do what's best for you, your personality, and of course, your situation. And of course, how much extra money and things you have to pay down on these debts. But again, another thing that many people do out there as well, when it comes down to paying down debts, is many people look at it and say, okay, I've got 5 different balances here. I'm going to take on my extra, say, $500 a month that I have coming into me that I can either save or pay down debts. I'm going to take the extra $500 and spread it out $100 across all 5 of my balances, and that's what I'm going to do every single month going forward. Again, not a bad strategy because it is paying down your debt technically, but the problem with it is it's spreading everything so thin that you're not really getting any progress on the debt pay down front. Don't get me wrong, you're paying down $500 per month. But again, when it comes down to it, the mindset behind this, when you look at it and say, I've been paying for a year, I've paid down $6,000 worth of debt, but it looks like my balances are still incredibly high. And the reason for that is in this strategy that a lot of people use is I've taken $500 per month, I've spread it out $100 each per my balances for each of my different accounts, and that's what I'm doing. Again, it's really hard to get momentum doing that because nothing is really seeming to go down in any substantial way, right? So you can certainly do this. Again, not really here to tell you what to do, but rather trying to introduce some different strategies that are out there and what a lot of people do as far as attacking their debts. However, when it comes down to the debt snowball as introduced by Dave Ramsey, I'd totally go for this one. Seriously, if this is your situation, I would highly recommend doing this. Again, go through and find all of your consumer debts. Again, credit cards, student loans, maybe back taxes, maybe auto loans, personal lines of credit, maybe personal loans, anything like this. Anything that would be considered a consumer type of debt that you may have, gather all of them. Again, you could have 3 accounts, you could have 1 account, you could have 17 different accounts. Doesn't really matter. However many you have, find all of them and then categorize them from smallest balance to biggest balance. And then, like Dave Ramsey says, just to start attacking that smallest one. With any extra money that you have, you could have an extra $50 a month. Doesn't matter. It could be $50 a month. It could be $1,000 a month. It could be $5,000 a month. Whatever extra money that you have going forward every single month, again, attack on that smallest balance. And when that one's gone, when that one's been eliminated, move your way up the food chain to the next one. And then just keep doing that same strategy over and over and over, attacking the smallest balances that you have available to you. And again, just keep going at that. But one more thing that I want to throw out there as well. As soon as we pay down a debt, it's very easy to go back and say, well, I paid off my credit card. I have a nice $7,000 credit line here available to me. Maybe I should go out shopping this weekend. It's tempting to do that, but the best thing I would say to do, try to hold back on those urges to go out and rack up some more charges on your card. Don't get me wrong, I totally understand. We all need to go out and buy things from time to time, but sometimes when we pay down a credit card and the balance is now zero after having thousands of dollars on it, sometimes it gets really tempting to think, sure would be fun to go out this weekend and, buy a bunch of things that I've been holding off. I've done such a good job paying down my credit card debt. It might be a great idea to go out and buy myself a bunch of stuff again. And again, I'm not here to tell you what to do. You got to do what's best for you and your personality. You got to do what's best to keep you happy and thriving, things like that. But at the end of the day, sometimes when these situations arrive, sometimes it's very easy to say, wow, I've been doing a great job here. It's time to reward myself for the things that I've done. And again, I'm totally agreeing with you. Rewards are a good thing. But again, make sure that it's not in excess, right? Excess rewards for ourselves can be really fun, but then sometimes can lead to buyer's remorse. Save your receipts, by the way, right? Always save your receipts just in case. You sleep on it for a night and say, uh-oh, what did I do, right? Make sure you can be able to return that item if you happen to be in that situation. Anyway, when it comes down to it, the debt snowball, I'm going to give this one a huge thumbs up. I think Dave Ramsey is certainly onto a great concept here when it comes down to paying down many different consumer debts. And as I've said in previous videos over the last couple of years here, consumer debts are unfortunately the worst kind of debt that a person can have, simply because usually they are accompanied by massive, massive interest rates. Like a credit card, we're talking 20% interest. Well, it's really hard to get ahead when you're paying 20% interest on a balance. So again, when it comes down to consumer debts, a lot of times these are kind of tough to get your finances wrapped around. It's tough to get out of these. It's tough to fill in that hole once we dig a hole when it comes down to consumer debts. But once you start filling in, please do yourself a favor, continue filling in and don't keep digging, okay? So anyway, I quickly wanted to come back, talk about the debt snowball as introduced by Dave Ramsey. A great strategy. I would highly recommend this one if you're in the situation where you want to get ahead of some of your debts and you just want to start categorizing some of these and trying to get ahead of these a little bit. Yeah, huge advocate. I would say this is a good one. So yeah, hats off to Dave Ramsey for this strategy. And again, it's not like this is rocket science. This is not some like huge sophisticated strategy. No, by no means is it anything sophisticated like that. It is simply just listing out all of your debts and then just attacking the smallest ones. When you get that one done, go at the next one. And again and again and again, rinse and repeat over and over and over until over a short period of time, whether it's a few months, 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, a year, 2 years, something like this, you might look back and think, wow, I stayed disciplined this whole time, and check it out. I paid off all my debts. It's a pretty cool feeling. So anyway, hope this video helps you out. If you haven't done so yet, please make sure to subscribe down below. It's totally free to do so. I'm here for you in any way that I possibly can be, keeping you updated and, of course, sharing with you some of the experiences that I've had with all this research and various different people that I've been following through the last 10, 15 years that I've been following for a very long time now, trying to work on personal finance and doing things myself as well. And I like to share with you my experiences as far as what I have found to work for me and some of the other strategies that I can talk about in separate videos that I would say, you might want to steer away from. Anyway, thanks again for watching this. I do appreciate it. Enjoy your day. Subscribe down below. Share this video with your friends, family, social media, so they can also take advantage of this great strategy. And of course, go back and check out some of the other thousands of videos right here on the channel. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Enjoy your day, and I'll catch you again later in the next video.